"I was tricked into dating a paralyzed girl," she said. "I'm not looking for pity, just honesty." It was a mild Saturday morning in early October, the kind that hinted at autumn but still carried the lazy warmth of summer. The Maple and Hearth Cafe sat quietly on the corner of a tree-lined street in a suburban town just outside Portland. It was the kind of place that smelled like cinnamon and quiet hope. Liam adjusted the small jacket on his 3-year-old daughter, Ellie, as they stepped inside. She clutched a stuffed bunny in one hand and his finger in the other, her big brown eyes scanning the cozy room filled with old wooden chairs and shelves of secondhand books. "Daddy, this place smells like pancakes," she whispered. He smiled. "That's how you know it's a good cafe." At 34, Liam had the look of a man who had lived through more than he spoke about. His jeans were faded, his boots worn from long hours in the garage. Since his wife passed away during childbirth, he had poured every ounce of himself into raising Ellie. Dating was something distant, foreign. But a friend had convinced him to try a dating app, and that was how he met someone named M. Her profile had almost no photos, just one soft shot of a coffee cup and a dog, but her words were sharp, kind, and honest. They had chatted for 3 weeks, texting late into the night after Ellie was asleep. M never called or video chatted, but Liam didn't mind. There was something grounding about her, a mind that saw the world with depth, humor, and gentleness. She had suggested they meet here. Liam, with no sitter, brought Ellie along, hoping that would not be a deal breaker. They found a table near the window. Ellie sat on her knees, staring at the pastries in the display case. 10 minutes passed. Then 15. Liam was about to check his phone again when he saw a sleek black SUV pull up to the curb. The driver stepped out, walked to the back seat, and carefully unfolded a wheelchair. He helped a woman out, tall, elegant, mid-30s. Her long coat fell gracefully over her frame, and her hair was tucked into a neat low bun. The driver pushed her toward the cafe entrance. Liam's smile faded. The woman wheeled herself through the door, scanning the cafe until her eyes landed on him. He stood awkwardly, unsure if he should wave or pretend he was someone else. Emily was beautiful, strikingly so, but the wheelchair caught him off guard in a way he hated himself for. Ellie tugged his sleeve. "Daddy?" Liam inhaled slowly, looked down at his daughter, then back at the woman approaching. "I was tricked into dating a paralyzed girl," he muttered, under his breath. The words left his mouth before he could stop them. Emily stopped about a foot from the table. Her expression was calm, unreadable. Then she said softly, "I'm not looking for pity, just honesty." Liam's heart sank. Her voice didn't tremble. Her chin was lifted, eyes clear. She had heard him. I didn't mean," he began, flustered. But before he could find the right words, Ellie slipped off her chair, ran toward Emily, and wrapped her arms around one of the woman's legs. "Are you a princess?" Ellie asked. "Why do you sit on a magic chair?" The entire cafe went still. Liam froze, mortified. "Ellie!" But Emily's lips parted into a smile, genuine, glowing. She leaned forward, brushing a lock of hair from Ellie's face. "I suppose I am," she said, her voice like warm honey. "And this chair? It helps me fly." Ellie gasped. "Like a spaceship?" "Exactly like that." Liam didn't know whether to laugh or apologize again. His face was burning. Emily looked up at him, her smile lingering. "She's lovely." I am really sorry," he said quietly. "About what I said." "I know," she replied. "Sit down, Liam. Let's talk." He nodded, slowly lowering himself into the chair across from her. Ellie crawled back into her seat, still clutching her bunny. Outside, leaves rustled. Inside, something unspoken had shifted. Neither of them knew it yet, but this was not just a first date. It was the beginning of something neither expected, yet both deeply needed. Liam had barely slept. He lay awake long after putting Ellie to bed, staring at the ceiling, hearing Emily's voice on repeat in his head, calm, unwavering. I'm not looking for pity, just honesty. He hated the way his own words had come out, how they exposed a weakness in him he thought he had outgrown. The look in her eyes hadn't been wounded, just firm and quietly disappointed. That made it worse. By morning, he picked up his phone and typed a message. I'm sorry. Not because you're in a wheelchair, but because I wasn't brave enough to realize it doesn't matter. He hit send. Minutes later, her reply came through, just a location pin and a single line. If you still want to make it right, come find me. I'm waiting. An hour later, Liam walked slowly through the park, with Ellie skipping at his side, a brown paper bag in his hand. The lake shimmered under the late morning sun. Birds floated lazily above the water, and on a bench near the edge, Emily sat quietly, her chair still in the grass. She looked up as they approached. You came. I brought peace offering, Liam said, holding out the bag. Emily raised an eyebrow. You brought me carbs? He chuckled, a bit nervous. Waffles. I remembered you once said your grandmother made the best cinnamon waffles when you were little. Ellie and I tried making some. They're probably terrible. Emily opened the bag and took one carefully. She bit into it and blinked. They're awful. Liam winced. She laughed. But I love them. Her smile returned, soft and real. The tightness in Liam's chest loosened. From that day, something changed. They met again the following week, and the next. They rarely made big plans. Emily preferred simple things. Walks in quiet parks, watching Ellie chase ducks, sitting in the car listening to old jazz. Liam was not a man of big words, but his attention was precise. He started keeping a soft towel in his passenger seat for her comfort. He found lightweight headphones so they could share podcast episodes. He made Ellie practice how to ask kind questions, like, which color is your favorite wheelchair, instead of, why can't you walk? Emily noticed. One afternoon, as they sat on the porch outside Liam's apartment, watching Ellie color chalk on the concrete, Emily spoke without looking at him. 2 years ago, I was at the top. I ran a logistics empire, fastest growing in the West. I flew from meeting to meeting, never stopped. Then a ski trip, one mistake, one break. Now this. She paused. The breeze moved her hair. I disappeared not because I was ashamed. I just wanted to know what was left of me if no one recognized the name on my business card, or cared whether I could walk into a room. Liam looked at her, his voice quiet. What's left is still pretty amazing. Emily finally turned toward him. He added, you still teach people how to live honestly. That's something most CEOs can't do. She said nothing, but her eyes shone with something gentle and unexpected. That evening, something else happened. Emily had received a board email. Some senior members were pushing back, concerned about her involvement with someone so modest. As they put it, it had left her rattled. Liam did not ask. Instead, after tucking Ellie in, he went back to his garage. He pulled a scrap piece of metal from the corner, turned on his welder, and began shaping it, grinding, polishing. Carefully, he etched the words he had been too nervous to say aloud. By morning, it was ready. At their next meeting, he handed it to her, a rough, hand-welded sign the size of a book. She turned it over and read, I don't need perfect. I just need real. Emily didn't speak. She pressed the cool metal to her chest and closed her eyes. Her fingers trembled slightly. Then, tears. Quiet, steady. Liam panicked. Did I go too far? She shook her head. No. This is the first time in a long time someone really saw me. She tucked the metal plate into her bag, holding it like something sacred. That afternoon, as they sat beneath a sycamore tree, Ellie sleeping in Liam's lap, Emily whispered, Maybe I did not lose everything. Liam met her gaze and smiled. No, he said. You just started something better. The first photo appeared on a gossip blog late one Tuesday night. A blurry shot, taken from across the street, showed Emily in her wheelchair, laughing beside Liam as he held Ellie in one arm and a coffee in the other. It was harmless, until someone recognized her. Within hours, headlines spread like wildfire. Billion-dollar beauty and the backyard mechanic. CEO Emily Graves spotted with single dad. From boardrooms to baby bottles. Who is the man winning over America's most private CEO? Liam found out from a co-worker, who showed him the article during lunch. Man, they're calling you Mr. Lucky, or Mr. Opportunist. Depends on the site. The guy chuckled. Liam stared at the screen, the pit in his stomach growing. The comments were worse: speculation, mockery, and assumptions. He didn't say anything, just went home early, picked up Ellie from preschool. But something had shifted. The next morning, at drop-off, he noticed the silence. The other mothers didn't greet him like usual. One woman pulled her child gently aside when Ellie tried to say hi. Ellie clutched his hand tightly. "Daddy," she whispered, "did I do something wrong? Why won't they let me play today?" He knelt to her level, his heart aching. "No, sweetheart. You didn't do anything wrong. People just don't understand some things." She looked up at him, teary-eyed. "Did I make them mad?" He hugged her tightly. "Not at all. You're perfect." That evening, he told Emily what had happened. She listened, face unreadable. Then, quietly, "I need the address of her preschool." I don't think. No PR, no press, just me, and a storybook." 2 days later, on a bright Friday morning, the preschool yard buzzed with curiosity. Parents were gathered for a small event, a weekly reading circle. Today, however, a guest was coming. The whispers started as Emily's sleek black car pulled up. Her driver opened the door, and Emily rolled out, wearing a deep blue blouse, her hair braided over one shoulder. She glided her chair across the gravel path like she owned it, because she did. Some parents shifted uncomfortably. Others watched in stunned silence. Emily rolled straight into the middle of the small outdoor space where the children sat cross-legged on a rug. Teachers paused. Kids stared. She smiled at the class. "Hi everyone, I'm Miss Emily. I brought a book today, but before I read, I'd like to say something to the grown-ups." She turned her chair slightly, facing the parents at the edges. "I know some of you have seen things online this week. About me. About someone I care for." She paused. The air held its breath. "I'm not a celebrity. I'm not a miracle. I'm not here because I want attention or sympathy. I'm just a woman who met a man who happens to fix cars, raise a beautiful daughter, and treat people with more respect than most CEOs I've ever worked with." A few parents glanced at each other. Emily continued, her voice firm but kind. "I've been in rooms filled with power, with money, with empty words, but none of those rooms ever made me feel as human as sitting on a park bench eating waffles someone made just because I said I liked them as a kid." Someone laughed, softly, kindly. Emily smiled. "I came here today not to prove anything, just to share a story, because I still believe in kindness. And I still believe that children learn best, not just from books, but from how we treat the people who walk, or roll, into our lives." She opened the book and began reading. The children leaned in, entranced by her voice. By the end, even the most skeptical parents had drifted closer. One offered her a cup of tea. Another asked if she'd like help carrying books. Ellie beamed from her seat. When story time ended, she ran to Emily and hugged her tightly. "You were amazing," she squealed. Emily looked up and caught Liam's eyes across the yard. He didn't say anything, but his smile said everything. And this time, no one pulled their child away. It was a quiet Sunday afternoon. The kind where the light filtered through the window just right, soft and golden, casting long, warm shadows across the living room floor. Liam sat on the couch, his arm draped around Emily's wheelchair as she sat beside him. Ellie was curled on the rug with crayons spread across the floor, humming a tune only she knew. Emily sipped from a mug of tea, watching the little girl color. Her eyes flicked once to Liam, who had been quieter than usual. "You've been somewhere else all day," she said gently. Liam stared at the floor. "Yeah." She didn't push. After a long silence, he said, "My wife died giving birth to Ellie." Emily looked at him. The mug paused just before her lips. He continued, voice low. "It was supposed to be routine. We were so ready. We had painted the nursery, built the crib. I was holding her hand one moment, and the next." He stopped, swallowing hard. She was gone, just like that. Emily stayed quiet. No gasps, no empty condolences, just quiet. "I never forgave myself," he added. "The doctors said there was nothing I could have done, but I was supposed to protect her. That was my job, and I failed." Emily looked down at her lap. "You didn't fail, Liam." He shook his head. "Since then, I've been surviving, not living. I take care of Ellie, I go to work, I keep my head down. But every time I feel happy, I get scared. Like something terrible's going to happen again. Like I don't get to have good things." His eyes met hers. "That's why I pulled back at the cafe. Not because of your chair, but because I'm afraid. Afraid of losing someone again. And afraid of what it would do to Ellie if I broke down." Emily took a slow breath. She didn't try to soothe him, didn't offer platitudes. Instead, she said softly, "You don't need to be a superhero." Liam looked at her. "Ellie doesn't need that. She just needs her dad. Whole, open, loved." He blinked. The words hit deeper than he expected. Down on the rug, Ellie looked up. "Daddy, look what I made." She held up a piece of paper with 3 stick figures, one up in the sky with angel wings, one tall man with brown hair holding hands with a little girl, and beside them, a woman in a wheelchair with a yellow crown. Liam stared at it. "What's this?" he asked, his voice almost cracking. "That's Mommy in the sky," Ellie said cheerfully, pointing to the angel. "And that's you and me. And that's Miss Emily. I gave her a crown because she's like a queen." Emily smiled softly. Liam took the drawing from her, and his eyes began to shine. He didn't say anything. He just pulled Ellie into his arms and held her tightly, the paper trembling slightly in his hand. Emily reached over and gently placed her hand over his. In that small moment, no words were needed, just the understanding of 2 people, both carrying wounds invisible to others, slowly starting to believe they could heal. It began with silence. Liam had sent a simple good morning text. No reply. Maybe she was busy. Meetings, probably. That happened sometimes. But by evening, there was still nothing. No message, no call, not even the read receipt. The next day, Liam tried again. Then again. Still nothing. On the 3rd day, Ellie sat on the couch, hugging her bunny, her eyes wide and solemn. "Daddy, did Miss Emily go away forever like Mommy?" Liam knelt beside her. "No, sweetheart, I don't think so." But truthfully, he had no idea. He drove past her apartment. No lights. Her car was gone. The concierge at the building offered no answers. It was like she had vanished into thin air. By day 5, the panic in Liam's chest had grown into something raw and burning. He barely slept. Ellie asked about Emily every night, clutching her drawing, the one with the crown. Then came the knock. Liam opened the door to see a tall, familiar figure in a black coat and gloves. It was Emily's driver. The man stepped inside, quietly, glancing around before he spoke. "I should not be here, but you deserve to know." Liam's heart pounded. "What happened? Is she okay?" The driver nodded. Physically, yes, but she was ordered to leave. The board forced her to go abroad, some kind of rehabilitation retreat overseas, strictly PR. They think she's becoming too human, too emotional. Because of me? Liam asked, stunned. And your daughter, the driver replied. They believe this relationship could diminish shareholder confidence. Liam clenched his fists. She didn't even say goodbye. They gave her no time. She fought. She lost. The man paused, then handed Liam a note. She asked me to deliver this if I ever saw you. It was a folded napkin from the cafe. In Emily's handwriting. Tell her I didn't want to disappear. Tell him I was scared too. The next morning, Liam dressed Ellie in her yellow coat and packed her drawing in his jacket. He drove an hour into the city and parked outside the towering glass headquarters of Graves Logistics. Security was tight. Suits and badges scanned every face. Liam walked to the front desk, holding Ellie's hand. I need to see someone on the executive board, he said. The receptionist barely looked up. Do you have an appointment? No, he said. But I brought proof. He pulled Ellie's drawing from his pocket, unfolded it carefully, and held it high. A few heads turned. This is my daughter's picture, he said, his voice rising. She drew it 2 weeks ago. That's her mom in heaven. That's me. And that, he pointed to the woman in the wheelchair. That's the woman my daughter calls her queen. Security moved closer. The receptionist whispered into a phone. Liam didn't stop. I don't want your money. I don't care about your company. But you sent away the only person who made my daughter believe in love again. His voice cracked, but he kept going. She's not a liability. She's a hero. To a little girl who lost her mother before she could speak. A crowd had gathered. Phones were out. Employees whispered. One woman had tears in her eyes. She didn't leave because of scandal, Liam finished. She left because this place forgot she's not a symbol, she's a person. He turned to go. Ellie, still holding his hand. But as they stepped back outside, a man in a suit came running down the marble steps behind them. Sir, wait. You might want to answer your phone. Liam's phone buzzed in his pocket. Unknown number. He answered. Liam? Her voice. Raw. Tired. But hers. I'm on my way home, Emily said, and I think I just remembered why. Emily returned exactly 2 weeks later. When Liam saw her for the first time, waiting outside the cafe where they had first met, he almost did not recognize her. She looked smaller somehow, her features sharper, like someone who had been weathering storms in silence. Yet her eyes, when they met his, still held that unmistakable light. I'm sorry, she said before he could speak. I didn't want to disappear. You don't have to explain, Liam replied, though his voice wavered. I'm glad you're here. I'm not just here to come back, Emily said. I'm here to make something clear. 3 days later, the annual Western Business Leadership Summit began, one of the most high-profile events of the year, with hundreds of CEOs, founders, and executives from across the country in attendance. Emily Graves, founder and public face of Graves Logistics, was scheduled as the closing speaker. People whispered when she rolled up onto the stage, dressed in a sleek black suit, her hair pulled back, a single silver chain around her neck. The whispers grew louder as she took the mic, without the usual pleasantries or company updates. Good evening, she said. I was supposed to talk about numbers today, growth, projections, future markets, but I think we have enough numbers. What we're missing is something else. The room quieted. 2 years ago, I lost the use of my legs. That is not news. But what most people do not know is that I also nearly lost the ability to believe in connection, in trust, in love. She paused. The room held still. I tried to disappear, hide behind my title, my chair, my silence. And then one day, someone saw me, not the CEO, not the patient, just me. The giant screen behind her, meant for charts and graphics, now lit up with a simple photo, a child's drawing, a stick figure with a crown in a wheelchair, holding hands with a man and a little girl. "There is a man," she said, "and his daughter, who reminded me that I am not broken, that I am not someone to be pitied. I am someone worthy of love." Gasps rippled through the audience. "I share this," she continued, voice steady, not for sympathy or applause, but to say this: if being human, if choosing love, if being honest about who I am makes me a less desirable figurehead, then I no longer wish to be one. She looked directly into the front rows, where the board members of her company sat frozen. "As of today, I am stepping down as CEO of Graves Logistics." Murmurs burst out across the ballroom. "I have appointed someone I trust deeply to continue the work we began. Meanwhile, I will be launching a foundation, one dedicated to children who have lost their mothers, and to single parents who carry the weight of two hearts alone." A moment of stunned silence passed before a thunder of applause erupted, stronger than any she had ever received in her years of leadership. Emily smiled, her fingers resting gently on the armrest of her chair. "Power means nothing," she said, "if it costs you your heart. And I've just found mine again." Backstage, Liam stood holding Ellie in his arms. When Emily appeared, Ellie reached for her instantly. "Did you tell them?" the little girl asked. Emily nodded, her voice catching. "I told them everything." Liam leaned in, kissing her forehead. "I'm proud of you." Emily looked up at him, eyes bright. "I finally stopped running." He smiled. "Now let's start building." The backyard was strung with warm yellow lights, glowing softly under the early evening sky. Paper lanterns hung from the trees, swaying gently in the breeze, casting dancing shadows on the ground. A handmade banner read, "Happy 4th Birthday, Ellie," in colorful letters. Liam sat on the picnic blanket with Ellie on his lap, helping her open presents wrapped in cartoon paper and glittery bows. Laughter echoed as neighborhood kids chased bubbles across the grass. Music played quietly in the background, Emily's playlist, the one she had shared with Liam on their third walk in the park. Emily was there, dressed simply in a cream sweater, seated in her wheelchair beside them, holding a paper plate with half a slice of cake that Ellie had insisted on serving her herself. It was the first birthday Emily had ever spent with them. She had been hesitant at first, afraid of being too present, too close, but Liam had asked softly, "Where else would you be more needed today?" The sun dipped lower, casting golden light across the backyard. As the kids settled for a movie night on a bedsheet-turned outdoor screen, Emily sat with Liam and Ellie under the fairy lights. The air buzzed with the soft hum of crickets, laughter in the distance, and the steady beat of a heart learning how to stay. Ellie, curled beside Emily now, whispered into her ear, small and honest, "I want you to stay here, always." Emily looked at her, eyes wide. "Stay?" she asked gently. Ellie nodded, her tiny fingers brushing against Emily's arm. "I want you to be here when I wake up. I want Daddy to stop looking so lonely when he thinks I'm not watching." Emily's throat tightened. She kissed the top of Ellie's head and held her close. Liam reached behind him and pulled something from under the folded corner of the blanket, a small box, hand-painted in uneven strokes of blue and gold, with a tiny sun sticker crooked on the lid. He placed it in Emily's lap. She blinked at him. "What's this?" "Something Ellie made," he said, then added quietly, "And something I added." Emily opened the box. Inside, nestled on a bed of soft cotton, was a ring made of twisted rubber bands in every color imaginable. Clearly, a child's creation. Next to it was a delicate silver ring with a tiny emerald stone. "I know I'm not perfect," Liam said. "I don't have much. But this is what I do have. A home, a daughter who loves you, and a heart that doesn't want to be anywhere else." Emily looked from the box to his face. "You don't have to say anything," he added. "You don't have to stand. You don't have to move anywhere. I just want you to stay. Not for Ellie, not for me. For yourself, because you want to." He exhaled, slow and steady. "Just don't leave again." Emily's eyes filled with tears. She looked down at the 2 rings, her fingers trembling slightly as she picked up the rubber band one first and slid it onto her finger. Then the silver one. She nodded, not a dramatic, tearful yes, just a quiet, unwavering nod. Ellie, watching from Emily's lap, squealed and threw her arms around both of them. "You're going to be my real mommy now," she said. Emily laughed through her tears and kissed her forehead. Then she looked at Liam and whispered, "Thank you for not giving up on me." He smiled, holding both their hands as the lights flickered gently above. That night, under a sky full of stars and streamers, the smallest family became whole. A year later, the house was filled with laughter. The little home Liam once thought would always feel too quiet now echoed with bedtime stories, pancake mornings, and the hum of life. Emily worked from a sunlit room they had turned into a studio, recording stories for children through a non-profit she started, offering free books and imagination to kids who had lost parents, just like Ellie once had. Every day at 3 o'clock, Ellie would run in after preschool, throw her backpack on the couch, and shout, "Mommy, Emily, I'm home." And every day, Emily would wheel herself out to meet her, arms wide, ready to listen to everything Ellie had seen, touched, and imagined in her small, bright world. Their family had become something quiet but unshakable. Simple meals, long walks, movie nights, little rituals that made their days sacred. On the morning of Ellie's kindergarten graduation, the house buzzed with excitement. Liam adjusted the tiny blue cap on her head, while Emily helped her pick which sparkly shoes to wear. "You sure these don't make me look like I have superpowers?" Ellie asked, spinning in a circle. "You absolutely look magical," Emily said, laughing. At the preschool, folding chairs lined the small yard, filled with proud parents and waving cameras. The kids were ushered to the front, wearing paper crowns and shy grins. Emily sat near the front, her chair parked beside Liam, her hand resting gently in his. The teacher stepped up with a bright smile. "This year, we asked each student to draw what makes them the happiest in the whole world." She held up the first picture, some clouds, a rainbow, a pizza. Then another, puppies, toys, a dinosaur with hearts. When it was Ellie's turn, the teacher smiled and lifted the drawing high. It was a picture of a little girl holding hands with a woman, tall, with long hair, and standing. Emily blinked. The teacher read aloud. "Ellie says, 'This is me and my mommy, Emily. She's going to stand again. I just know it.'" Liam turned toward Emily just as she set both hands on the wheels of her chair and pushed herself back slightly. There, just beside them, was a walker. One Liam had helped her build and reinforce at the garage months ago. She had never used it in public. Not once. Now, slowly, Emily reached for it. The entire crowd seemed to still. One leg moved, then the other. Shaky, small, determined steps. Ellie gasped, then bolted forward. "Mommy, Emily." She ran into her arms just as Emily's knees buckled, and Emily caught her, laughing and crying at the same time, sinking onto the grass but holding her tight. The crowd erupted into applause. Liam stood frozen, tears blurring his vision. She looked up at him, still holding Ellie in her lap, her face flushed with joy and disbelief. And Liam whispered, more to himself than to anyone else, his voice thick with emotion, "I thought I was tricked, but really, I was healed." If this story touched your heart, imagine how many others need to hear it too. At Kindness and Love Tales, we believe in the power of second chances, quiet heroes, and love that heals. Stories like Liam, Emily, and little Ellie remind us that what's broken can still become beautiful. Don't miss the next tale that might change your day, or someone else's. Subscribe now to Kindness and Love Tales, and turn on notifications. Because kindness is the richest love story of all.